Emilio.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Emilio. Manny for speaking up. Yeah, Spring Web is going to give us it's pretty much going to set up the framework for a RESTful API or a RESTful application, as you see here, using Spring MVC if you wanted, but not going to do that. But that allows you to create a server. It'll run a server and gives you the basic structure and a lot of what are called annotations. Use that one. I'm going to add this one now, even though we're not going to use it today. We just want to prep this project for later, called JPA. This is for data storage. We're going to be using this for a little while in the beginning to start with just what's called a repository, which is local memory storage. And eventually we'll be using that to integrate with databases using either Spring Data and using Spring Data and Hibernate. So eventually, yeah, we'll eventually switching this to Hibernate, but this is going to allow us to store stuff locally for the time being. And there was one more that I wanted. Where's my notes? Did I actually want to bring it in though today? Do I need this one actually? Was actually something I was looking at? H2, yeah. That's it, the in-memory. So we're going to bring this in now so we can have that. So these two here are going to allow us to do local storage until we start bringing in a external SQL database. This will help us out to kind of start storing data without needing to worry about databases, running a SQL system locally or anything like that. What I'm thinking eventually later on is I'm going to do is we're going to introduce SQL through a container, so either through Docker or OpenHat or through OpenShift. We'll create a SQL, we'll use a SQL instance image and get a SQL server running on our systems through that container image and get a container running either externally or locally. We might do it locally so that we introduce Docker, and then we'll also use that knowledge to get into OpenShift. But we'll see if I can get OpenShift going with that. But those three we're going to bring in today. We're not going to touch base on these at all today. Spring Data and H2 database, we're not going to touch those at all today. I want them in so we can use the same package or the same project. That's all. Sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. We're going to generate. And that'll give us a zip file.
Wow. Cool.
Is all this. Email, out of the way, out of the way, out of the way, out of the way, out of the way. All that stuff out of the way. I do want this actually. I want that back. That's safe. My downloads. Yep. Okay, cool. No personal data there. So that's going to download it to our downloads folder. So I'm going to show the Mac version. If anyone wants to help out with Windows, you can, but that's going to load your downloads. In Mac, under your home, there's a folder called Idea Projects. If you want to put it where all the other ones are, you want to go there. I gave myself access to these by messing with Mac. They give you, yeah, this is where it is. So you go to users here, and that's where you'll be able to find it on Mac. So users, your name, Idea Projects. I think for Windows, they probably actually just put it in your documents.
I think it's in your users folder.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, still in the users folder?
Yes.
All right, yeah, that's easier to access, I think, on Windows. I'm pretty sure actually this is surprising that that's there. They usually don't put that there. So the last Mac I feel like didn't have that folder. That's where projects is part of my users item here too. So I usually have that just based on the terminal. But in the Idea Projects, you want to extract that zip file into there if you want it with all the other projects you have. So where's I?
Oh.
Double click on that, it'll create the folder, and I'm just going to drag and drop right into Idea Projects. And you can keep it in downloads, not a big deal. Once you extract it though, we're going to go to IntelliJ. We're going to go ahead and click Open. For Windows, you can also just get Open here under File.
Right.
So if you don't get this pop-up window.
Wait, you renamed the folder demo to intro, is that what you?
No, it was already intro. I renamed it intro on this. See, artifact. I named the artifact intro.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I left mine at demo. So.
That just means
It
everywhere
immediately-
we have the word intro, you'll have the word demo instead. So I don't know if you want to redo it. And if you just change it, regenerate, you'll get another zip file. So it's not a big deal to switch it quick if you want to.
Okay, so let me just do that quick then.
You can just delete the demo.
So
zip.
artifact is intro, and
that'll auto change name and package.
I see.
Yep.
Okay, show folder intro. Okay, cool.
And if you initially click on it, you'll see a very familiar source folder there. And then we have some new ones, build Gradle, Gradle, and all these. But the source folder there is very familiar. We at least are familiar with that file, with that folder. So give everybody a second to get that in there. So like I said, next up is just to open IntelliJ, and either from your little start window on Windows on Mac or file open. Doesn't matter which way you go to get to it. Just want to open. You'll get the normal open window. Go ahead and find that. Go to Idea Projects and click on Intro. Don't click any of the files inside. Click on the Intro folder and then click Open. So you want to open the folder. That makes sense? And depending on your system, you might get this. I'm going to trust all the projects in Idea Projects. That way, because if I put it there, I'm going to trust it. That's my idea. That's my personal preference. Anything I have in the Idea Projects folder, I'm going to trust it. If you don't want that, you want to always ask it. That way, in case there's something a little hacky there, you can just trust one by one. So I'll do that. So way, in case I need to do this again later on, I can show it again. I'll open up there. Go over here. Okay. All right. Second to load up. Just going to create the Gradle daemon. It's fine. It's a background thing to monitor the system in case you make any changes to the Gradle file. It'll automatically download and install new packages. Some of the other benefits you get from Gradle is that if you go into Gradle settings and add new packages, Gradle in the background will automatically download. So you can see it's doing it right now. It's downloading the packages that were mentioned by Spring Initializer.
Can you back up a little bit into the part where what did you do to get it to open Idea?
So again, just file open.
Okay, so you went for okay.
Yeah, opening a project. And you want to just click on that project's folder. So click on intro,
Okay.
Don't click any of the items inside, click on the folder intro and click open.
Gotcha.
Yep. After you extract, of course, you have to extract the zip file.
Yes.
I think for Windows, the easiest way is to right click extract all here or extract here. Or for Mac, you just double click. You no longer need WinRAR to extract stuff easily anymore. At least not in zip files. You still need it for RAR files, but Windows has at least made extracting zip files easy, finally.
I may have to
Right.
share.
We don't need WinRAR anymore?
Not for zip
Still
files
have that.
anymore. You still need it for RAR files, which is still pretty popular, but you no longer need WinRAR for zip files anymore to make it easy. Like I remember trying to
I don't know
extract
how
zip
they
files on
survive.
Windows used to be so difficult. It's so annoying. So I used WinRAR for any sort of encrypted, any sort of compacted file.
Yeah, it
RAR,
unzips
tar, whatever.
ISO files too.
What's that?
It unzips ISO files as well. You can
Yeah,
open
you're right.
up-
It does do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Windows has at least made it so that you can easily extract zip files now.
For some reason, I can't see mine. So is it possible I can just share my screen?
I mean, look at your lower right though. Are you sure it's not doing something like downloading or?
Well, I'm gonna show a screen. I don't know. It's easier to
It's
see. what
downloading the
what he's got.
packages.
Yeah, it does that in the background.
Oh.
Don't worry about it.
Mine's on my desktop as intro. I don't see it in. See his desktop, right?
Yeah.
And then I'll scroll down to
Yeah, we already
I.
got past the folder. So, can you show me your desktop? Just minimize.
I gotta stop
IntelliJ.
sharing here. Hold on.
Oh, you didn't share the whole.
I gotta
screen.
share another screen.
Got it.
What, am I supposed to already unpack it?
You're supposed to extract it. Yes, that's what we just mentioned.
Prior
so-
to do it?
Yep. So right click on it.
All right, wait a minute.
And just, I think.
I
you
thought I
just
could extract
here.
it. All right. That's fine. Now
Yeah,
it
you
should
can't
show
open
up.
zip folders. Yeah.
Oh my god, Cox is sucking lately, man. My internet's so bad. It's just
That is an
stuck on
interesting
the
statement, but
download.
okay.
Oh, God.
Especially because my video glitched out on a lot of that, so I just caught interesting segments of that statement.
You just-
Fucking
Matt's
Cox,
dead.
man.
All right, so once we're in there, what do we need to do? I'm sorry.
Nothing yet. It's automatically gonna start up the Gradle daemon and start downloading the packages and the requirements. So remember how we added the 3 dependencies in the initializer? That is gone. I made him cry.
Woo!
Too late, Cliff. I'm already writing syntax here.
There you go. Yeah, let me go back to my screen. Yeah, the system will happen automatically. It's going to automatically build and download all the items we mentioned in right here. So these all dependencies, you have all these packages, and these are not, oh, I think that the H2 database is the smallest package. These two are, this one's definitely the biggest. This one's a little decent size because it has a lot of wide use. This one will be the smallest version we have, but it's going to download all the dependencies and all the code for those packages. These are packages that other Java developers have made. And so you're just downloading their code that they've already done. So you're saving
What's
yourself a lot of effort.
that packaging char or war? What is that?
Sorry, what?
WAR files are for,
This
WAR
one-
files, yeah.
I don't know what
Therefore-
WAR is, but jar is your Java executable. It's something
Wow.
you can execute. Yeah. I'm actually not familiar with WAR myself.
Yeah, WAR files are, you could actually, it's weird, with Maven, you can put a WAR file in, and then you can actually give the files to somebody, and it'll actually, it's for web use and stuff. It's,
Interesting.
When you're fighting your code.
I was gonna say it just sounds like Afghanistan.
yeah,
I'm on a
That's
roll today. I'm
actually
getting
for
some
web
good
page.
laughter going on here. Travis almost died on that one. Good day for me today. Nice. So when in here, we haven't done anything yet, but what I wanted to show is just again that we have all these files, but a lot of them you're not going to need to get into right away. A lot of these are just setting configuration files. As we need to get into them, then you go into them. And that's another thing I want to be kind of touching base on when researching and using a lot of these things. It can get very daunting if you try to see, like, I need to understand everything that's here in order to use it, which is untrue. Every single one of you here, well, I'm thinking most of you here don't know every single aspect of a car in order to drive it. You drive it with very little understanding of how every piece inside of that thing works, right? I can guarantee some of you may be like, well, I know how to fix a car. It's like, well, how does the radio work? So there's something in that car that you use that you do not exactly understand how it works in every aspect of it. There's probably a button in your car that you don't know what it does. There's probably something in your house that there's a button in your house or a switch in your house or something that you don't know what it does. But you still use the rest of it. And that's fine. We don't need to know all these files in order to start using it. As we need to know those items, we can then dig into them. And that's you want to start learning about as you get deeper into the more advanced coding. Only learn the parts that you need to learn when it becomes relevant. Because no one's expecting you to, when you start working at a company, that you're going to go through the entire code base for that company and understand the entire code base for that project. No one's expecting that. You're going to learn the parts of the tools as you work on those parts of the company code. Because if we would try to go into everything, first we'll click on idea and we got all these. Then we're going to click on Gradle. We see there's a folder here and these things here. We click on main and we have Java intro application. We have resources. We have test folder with more stuff here. We have this git ignore, build Gradle, Gradle W bat, help, settings Gradle. We have the external libraries folder with all this stuff in it. Yeah, let's go through these, see what all these are. We see the daunting system, right? So we need to make sure we're focusing on only the items that really care. We're not going to get into testing, so we're not doing any test-driven development. That is something that if you see a company that you like that really talks about it, something you can look into. Maybe we may even if we have the time, we might do a side touch on that, but we're not going to get into that right now. So don't worry about this folder at all. Only going to worry about main. Resources, again, don't really care. These are, again, external items that we might need to get into later. They're mostly for templates and static information. We don't need those right now. The most important thing we're actually going to care about today is just in main Java, and we're going to go over here, and this looks identical to what we've been doing so far, right? We have this com.creatives.intro package right here, and we have right here a class that has main. That doesn't really seem that new, does it?
No.
Let's see what happens if I run this. If I run it, let's see if it actually works. I do believe the first run takes a little while to run.
Oh,
We'll
geez.
say Maven runs faster.
It's asking
on the
me if I want to allow access. So firewall is like blocking.
yes.
Yes, because otherwise you won't be able to access it via localhost. You won't be able to actually go to the website if he doesn't have access through the firewall.
Well, something happened. I can tell you that much.
Oh, it is running already. Cool. Yeah, it's running.
It's
The
finished.
problem is though we have no route. So I go to now localhost. I think it goes on 8080. So localhost 8080. we'll at least get this white label error page. What does white label mean? Anyone know what that means? What a white label is?
Actually, I do not know.
It's just it's a term for generic.
Oh,
Label that's white.
A label that's white. Yes, exactly. It's just a generic phrase. It's a generic item. It's the default. It's white label is just a term for like, this is the standard. This is the general item. So this is not a custom error message. This is the white label fallback error page. Pretty much letting you know that this is, oh, is that Travis again? Oh, hi. Okay. We lose, oh yeah, we did lose him for a second there. That's Travis dropped. Feel bad. But the main thing here is just letting you know that this is a server that you are running, but it would just you have the generic error page. And we can see here, right there, status not found. And most people here, because of memes, probably know what 404 is now, right? I don't need to explain that that's a status, it's an HTML status code. Most people know what 404 is nowadays. I'm actually surprised when maybe I think my nephews even understand what 404, or at least understand that 404 means not found. They probably don't know that it's for websites or internet, but they know that it's 404 not found. So these are things I'm also going to touch base on a little bit too eventually, is HTTP status codes. There's one other very common status code that as developers we care the most about. We know what that one is. 11, stay quiet. We know what number it is.
How long should it take for the first run of this to actually get set up so I can look at it? Because mine's been running for.
It doesn't tell you that it's done. It's still
yeah,
spinning
well,
on my screen.
Oh.
yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
all 101?
Not 101. Nope.
404? Well, 404 is
We
just
are-
it.
In your run tab, Matt, at the bottom should be completed initialization in one.
Where do you see it? Because on the left-hand side, it's going to keep spinning. Over
So
here
right-hand
some
side at the
point-
bottom.
Down
of
there,
all
down
Oh,
there.
yeah.
completed
Right here, you see it right here.
initialization.
Right where? Hold on 1 second.
The
Where?
very last line, there is complete
no.
initialization.
Usually when you
Oh,
See
let's see.
see Tom,
this line right here. This is the line we care about. Started intro application in 2.322 seconds. You want to see this line right here.
Mhm.
and the one above.
Oh, there it is. Yep.
Yeah, and the one above it's Tomcat. It just shows you that it's been
Yeah,
those
and that
two.
tells you the
Okay.
port number. So
Where does it? Oh, yeah. Where does it say the port number? I can't quite find
right
that.
above that line that we just said.
Right
So
above that
Oh,
line.
there it is. 8080. Got it. Thank
Yep,
you.
That's the default. We'll touch base later on how to switch to port, but for today we're not gonna care. We're gonna use 8080. So yeah, the thing is, this is one of those what we like to call a persistent program. This doesn't have an endpoint until you kill it. So this is a while true program. So this program does not end until you kill it with Control-C, the stop symbol right here, or it crashes. That's the only way this server will stop. Because this is now a server. This is actively, and what this does, this is going to trigger on something called Tomcat, which is Apache, which is it's a web listening server. So this is creating a loop that's going to constantly listen for incoming calls to your computer via port 8080.
Is that 200?
What's that?
That 200, the number you're looking for?
What? Oh, 200.
Yeah.
You want to make that? Yes, I was going to get back to that. Yeah. Status code 200. Do we know what status code 200 means?
It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it literally means okay. All good. Status code 200 is literally okay. So, and that's the most common status code you get back from most websites. It's just 200. Okay, got your save. I got your request. Here's the data, and the data that I'm giving you is good. Nothing went wrong with it. So 404 and 200 are your most common status codes. You have, I believe, it's 201 is created. HTTP status code. One
Created, 202 accepted,
I don't know what they are.
203 partial information.
101, by the way, is just switching protocol. So these aren't ones you're really going to be using anymore. The ones you're going to care about more, yes. 200 for okay. 201 is usually is given back when you do a post request. You'll send back, yep, we created it. So both post and puts tend to do 201s. I've never done a 202 personally. 204 can be useful for no content. It's a valid URL, but there's nothing to show. So, and that's usually for a item where you want to trigger something to start. That's most common for like a cron request. So you'll send something, you'll send a request to the server that just says, hey, start doing something. It's not going to send you back any JSON or web or HTML, but it's just going to let you know, yep, I got the request. I heard you, kind of thing. It's like a nod of the head. that I heard you. The rest of these not really used. The next ones like redirects, we're not going to talk about. Those are mostly done for server management, or sorry, hosting management. These are the next ones. The other ones you really care about is your 400 bad requests. So if someone tries to fill out a form and they forget a field or something, or they try to log in and don't put a password, don't put a username, you'll respond back with bad request. I'm missing data. As you see here, invalid syntax. Unauthorized, they try to access a website that they are not allowed. So if they try to go to the profile page for someone to edit, you can send back 401 unauthorized. They must authenticate. I don't really see payment required used. Well, for future use, they haven't done it yet. 403 can be another one that's just you're not allowed. It's similar to unauthorized. Though most people just use 401, and then 404. So those are really your the big ones you're going to use. 200, 201, 400, 401, and 404. So those are the ones you really want to know. There are more, but not many you need to worry about.
It's 420.
Yeah.
Can it exist?
Not there, but there is 418. I'm a teapot.
There's a 418 and a 421. I think that they specifically skipped over that one.
You
I
do
didn't
see
know
what
that one,
418 is
418.
though, right? 418
Sorry,
itself is a
in
joke.
use.
I'm a teapot. The server refused the attempt to brew coffee with a teapot.
What?
I can't fault the server for standing its ground. And
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But I think you can make your own, can't you?
What's that?
Can't you make your own? I mean, can't you make your own?
Technically, you
custom
reply with any
whatever?
code you want. Yes, you can reply with any number you want, but the browser may not understand it, or the system that sent the request won't understand the code. So they'll just list the code. So certain browsers, of course, as they see browser compatibility, are compatible and recognize certain status codes. The fact that all of them also recognize 418 is hilarious. I am curious to see what Google Chrome would do if it got a 418 status code back. But full support, love it. I feel like there was
Who would
another
send a
joke
418
one.
status code?
I feel like there was another joke one. I can't remember. I'll have to look it up later. Yeah, I do believe there was another one. But can't remember. I can't remember what it was. Yeah, 418 is the one that's the one I knew for forever. I'm a teapot. Status code is my favorite. Again, just it fits for me with the concept of just developers being developers, of us just being meme lords and always sliding in that hidden little joke there for everyone, for people to find. We definitely want those things there. We enjoy having them. So yeah, we're gonna get more into these later, but the big ones again, 200 okay, 201 created, 400 bad request, 401 unauthorized, and 404 not found. So there's 5 status codes. Those are the 5 status codes if you're going to memorize any of them, those are the 5 to memorize. The rest you can just search when you need it. If you want something different, if you feel like one of those 5 don't fit the system you're doing, you can look and find one that fits better. But as long as you know those 5, you're safe. Oh, and for the record, that first number actually has a meaning I forgot to mention. So 200s are all considered successful. 300s are redirection. The 400s, as you can see, are client-based server. Oh, you do want to remember 500. I did forget about that one. 500 is important. 500 is server error. So you usually want to send that. That's something you send when you know when your server just doesn't know what to do. It did something wrong. What?
Is there a 505? No? Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, I was gonna say I know
Yeah,
what it is,
yeah.
so I don't know what it is. Yeah, I forgot about 500. So yeah, that's 6.
Yeah.
Sorry. 500 is important. So if they gave you valid data, but your server for some reason refused to save the information, you can send back 500 saying, "Hey, my server said no. Here's the error message, and we'll look into it." So this is when you know that it's you don't know for sure if the user did something wrong. You should only send back a 400 error if you know that it's a client-side error and you can tell them what they need to do to fix it. You're giving them the information how to change and how to submit correctly. But if, as far as you're concerned, the data, as far as you can tell, as far as your code can tell, what they gave you was valid, it just only went wrong, you use the 500 to let them know, like, where the server had an error, it wasn't necessarily something you did. We don't know it's what you did. If it was something you did, So something went wrong. So you can try again, but we can't tell you if it'll work or not. We can't tell you how to make it work. That makes sense? That's a big difference. If you're sending a 400, you should be letting the person know what's wrong and how they can fix it. If there is no information on how to fix it, you usually send a 500 then. Yeah, so those are the 6. But again, we'll see more of those as we go. Let's get back to creating some code. All right, so that's fine. So this now makes sense now. So what we're getting here, this is at least confirming us that the server is running, right? Just to prove a point, I'm going to kill the server. I'm going to re-go to 8080 again. And as you can see, now we get to this that can't be reached. So that white label is Spring Boot's way of saying server's running, but there's nothing here. Make sense?
But also, if that also reading that, it shows you that there's like no, it doesn't have an endpoint to go to. Also, if you read the text of that thing.
Right, there's nothing here, right? There's no endpoint. There's nothing at that
Yeah.
post, right? So you're using terms that we haven't touched base yet on. It's not a big deal. Yeah, we're gonna get to that next. I was gonna mention the term endpoint very shortly, but it's all good. So next thing we want to do is just create a very basic get our hello world. And so we're going to create our first controller, and we're going to create just a greeting system. So we're going to go ahead and do new Java class. We're going to create a class called greeting and greeting controller. Greeting, which is going to be empty for the moment. New greeting controller.
Wait. Okay.
Again, make sure I remember everything I need for this to work right. That's not right. That's what I want. Where are you? Okay. So here. The first thing we need in our greeting controller is to let, what is it? We first need to let, where'd you guys go? I lost my Zoom stuff. Can I share my screen still?
Yeah, we see you. We're here.
Yep.
My cameras went away. Hold on, I'm resetting.
Okay.
I need to see you guys. No hiding. Especially if I then mention that I can't see you guys. That's
Yeah.
dangerous. So, all right. So the first thing we need to do, like I said, so the first thing we need to do is let Spring Boot know that this controller is part of our REST API, is part of the REST system. And the way to do that is we're going to start seeing more annotation. So there was one type of annotation we've seen before that we should know what an annotation is. So there's one annotation that we've used before. Did anyone remember what it was?
Import?
Not import. That's not an annotation. That's just
Okay.
that's a line.
I'm
That's
guessing
code.
here.
No worries. Yeah.
Override.
What is that?
Override.
Override, right?
Oh,
Remember the
that's what
at
those
override.
are.
So annotations begin with the at symbol.
Got
And
it.
so this one, again, these annotations are different though. So the at override annotation was for us in the IDE. It was to have the IDE let us know, hey, you actually didn't override something. What these annotations are going to be used for, these annotations are going to be used by the package to identify things. And so we're going to do at REST controller, and Spring Boot uses this to know that this class is a controller for the REST system. So this is not just for us anymore. This is now required by Spring's framework. So it needs this in order for this to work. Otherwise, it's not going to bring it in. Sound good?
Mhm.
Cool. We're now going to create our first route. And to do that, we use another annotation, and we have to map a method to a route. And so we're going to use something called, we're going to use the verb and mapping. And so in this case, we're going to do get mapping. So this is a get route. And this annotation actually is kind of a method. As you can see here, we have name, value, path, all these kind of things. What we're going to do here is we're just going to do the path, which is a string and slash, and we'll just do slash actually, yeah, just default one. We'll use that. So this is the standard just item. And it's yelling at us right now because we have the annotation, but there's no method yet. Because the annotations aren't allowed to be by themselves, especially not this one. It needs something below it. All we do here is create a method. Hello, we'll call it. There. All I'm gonna do is to return. Hello world. Sound good? So I'm actually doing a simpler version. I actually don't usually do this. Now that I think about it in my notes, I actually have it's already doing JSON, but to do JSON, we have to do the other thing. So it's fine. We're gonna do this even though I'm actually not happy with it. This should work though.
Okay.
But I will admit, I haven't tested this route. So I'm actually hoping it allows me to send back strings.
That's right.
Here we go. Let's run it. Not upset with it. So that's good.
No, I think you got it right. I haven't
think
done
so.
much.
It should just send back string.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
just so
back the string. Yeah.
I'm so used to always sending JSON back because that's how my APIs always work. I almost never send just raw text, but I
Oh
want to
yeah,
start
no,
with
you
this
can.
basic.
Yeah, you can do it that way.
Yeah,
Hey,
this is. I'm confident it works. Just I like to clarify I haven't actually tested it. So hit enter. Hey, look at that.
There you go. I told you. It worked. I know. Well, because when you're using this, is mostly 99% of the time you are using JSON data to
Yeah.
mix it around. You're not
And
kind of stuff.
in our what is it a Spring Web that we brought in actually brought in a dependency, which is what is it? Oh, what's the name of it? If I look at my notes quick. It is
Look at the build.gradle. You can look at your
Jackson JSON. So the Jackson JSON library. So Spring Web brings in the Jackson JSON library, which automatically converts objects to JSON format. So if we were to return a object instance, it's going to turn that into a JavaScript object notation, which we're going to do next, by the way. So we got that, but wait a minute. All right, you guys disappeared
How
again.
come mine never brings up the ability to run it?
That's all right. Oh, you have to run it once. Sorry.
I don't get a run
Intro
arrow.
application. right here.
First
Click
you have to set up your what is it called? Your configuration. You have to configure this project.
Not if you click the run button here, though. This should
When-
do it.
When I first brought this in, I didn't have a run button at all. I had to configure
Not here,
the
not here.
project.
If you click on intro application, the class, there's the run button here. There is no run button here until you
Oh
select
yeah,
it, until you
I see
configure it.
there.
But if you click
Oh.
this one, it'll create a configuration for you.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
But which-
Yeah, that's a trick I found. So. Like I said, if you do so, once you do this run button once, it'll add the configuration here. So automatically, because as you saw, I'm sure I don't know if you noticed, but I never actually did a create configuration, Matt.
No, I was busy configuring my own while you were doing that.
Got it.
So how does that actually work?
Can you show the
What
controller
exactly
again?
work?
Oh, I see this.
Where's the controller? All good. Anyone's not work?
Mine does not
Oh.
work.
Yeah, mine's still not working.
Let's start doing some debugging. In a second.
I'm not getting the mapping. I'm not importing that get mapping thing.
So make sure that when you start to type it in, it should pop up. So as I do at
Well,
get
even the
mapping.
import doesn't find it either.
I would need
Interesting.
that you might not have the Spring Web dependency over here. So in Spring Initializer, again, clarify that you have the Gradle project, Java 256, jar 11, Spring Web is
Gradle
important.
project Java 256
Jar 11.
jar 11.
On the right-hand side, Spring Web,
Web.
Spring Data, and H2 database.
Yes.
All right, share screens. We'll start fixing. And everyone help me out with this. See if you can find it. Ooh, help Travis's dog was okay. That's not good. All right. Ooh, that was a direct message. Never mind.
Hold on, I can't. Oh, wait, it's now there. In some
Yes, but
miraculous
no, it's still
way.
red.
Well, the first one.
Oh, the G should be
First one's
capitalized,
there,
by the way.
No, the first one has it capitalized.
Right, yeah. That's
Oh,
probably
now
why I
it
was yelling
works.
at you.
Now it works. Who the
Cool.
heck knows
All
why?
right. It looks like you may have typed in the get mapping with a small g first, so it was not
I
imported correctly.
probably did, because I can't
Yeah.
really see your screen, so I'm
No worries.
taking lots of guesses.
You're fine. Keith, you want to take your next?
Is there a way to do like a live server? So every time that you update something,
I'm gonna look into that. I haven't actually done a live server with Javas yet. I'd have to
What's
take a look
this
and see if
green
it
over here?
does.
What is all this here?
I'm actually not sure why it's doing. So again, the colors there, I'm not familiar with on IntelliJ.
I think it's
That's
because he's in the
IntelliJ stuff?
test section instead of the main one.
Probably. Oh wait, yeah, you're in
Yeah.
test. You're supposed to be in main.
Supposed to be main.
Uh-oh.
You
Yup.
can just drag and drop those stuff into.
You
the-
should.
Yeah, you can.
You
Yeah,
should be
you
able
can
to do
just
that.
move them into the
Yeah,
Java
you can
folder.
move them- Yeah, you can move the greeting, just drag your greeting and you
Yeah,
can.
greeting and greeting controller, just drag and drop them into the other package. Yeah, not the
Yeah.
not the hold on, top. Not
Yeah.
tests, not tests, not tests. Just the greeting and greeting controller. Leave tests out.
Got it.
Yeah, those two.
Did I get
We can do one
both?
at a time. It's fine. Do one at a time. It's okay. There you go. Yep, drop it right in there. Yep. Refactor. Yep, that's fine. What the hell? Did it
You
actually
should have
put
put
it
that
into?
into the com.career devs, that intro.
Did it put it into the
Well,
class?
Put it into the class itself, yeah.
Did
What?
it? It did.
Must have something
Are you
happened.
kidding me?
Oh wow, that's
What is
really
happening?
cool that I can do that, but that's
I-
not what we wanted at
No,
all.
It's not what we wanted, but that's interesting. Can we
Wow,
un-
that's really
I-
interesting.
Are you able to do that? Because I don't.
Gonna run it?
Yeah, just put
No,
them in
let's
as
not
inner
run it.
classes.
It's too late.
All right. I actually have no idea if that's gonna work or not. That's
it'll work.
different.
is the greeting class?
It
I
looks like it
solved-
worked.
solved
It
the,
worked,
the
yeah.
hacker rank problem with an inner class one
Now,
time.
because
Oh
All
my.
right. And that's actually
We're
cool.
learning,
The
we're
hacker
learning.
to do it. I'm gonna recommend you actually create another the separate
All right,
classes.
that's
So
fine.
greeting controller, but yeah. All right.
as for,
Cool.
like,
Anybody
know.
else?
Good to know.
Yeah, I didn't know you could actually do that. I would have told you to move up one thing.
That's wild.
No kidding. It'll actually merge the code into another class. Merge one class into another class. Interesting. Anybody else? Going good? All right, let's keep going. Next up, let's add in some, let's actually go into JavaScript. We want to actually apply with JavaScript, and so we can, not JavaScript, sorry, JSON.
I was
Okay.
like, wait a
Wanna-
minute.
I was getting real confused. Wait a
think
minute.
I saw. I don't know whose space was. Maybe it was your space, Matt. That it was like someone looks confused. I'm like, what am I saying? Oh, right. I'm saying JavaScript, not JSON. We want to reply with a JSON object,
Okay.
which is technically just JSON. Because James actually use sanity check. What does JSON stand for?
JavaScript object notation.
There it is, Sergio. Nice. Good
I
good.
am very familiar with JSON. Me and Jason, we go back.
Oh, there you go. So all we need to do in Java to work with JSON, because again, we have the Jackson JSON library in our Spring Web, is we just need a class that can be converted. And it's actually a very basic class. I'm going to go greeting. I'm going to do a private final. So this is just going to be, so this is an object that will just exist. It's not changeable. It's not going to update in the middle. So it's just be private finals that just have getters. That's it. So private final, we're going to do long ID. So we can have a nice long ID number. So long is more commonly what you probably use for an ID, not int. So we have a nice long number for ID numbers. And then we can have a lot of users. We do private final string. That's kind of the message, the greeting that we'll give. back to the user. So the ID of the message and the actual content of the message of the greeting. We'll do a simple constructor. This is all basic. You guys should have this second nature, and that's not long int. That's going to be long ID. No one caught me on that. I'll stop there so we can catch up.
That thing that you said that you don't need to this.id equals ID, for instance, if it's the very next thing you're gonna call. What is that again? I don't know if you understand. You said once that we don't need to like specify this dot something because it's gonna look for the first thing.
Instance of it, right? So because there's a local variable in this method called ID, and we want to access the class ID, we have to use this because this refers to the class. This refers to this instance. So yeah, we wouldn't need the word this if it wasn't in here.
Yeah, no,
name.
You said that if it's like the very next thing, you didn't need. Well, I might get something wrong there, but it's okay.
I'm not sure what you're trying to say. Unfortunately, I'm not sure on that one. It's really just it always goes to the closest version if you don't specify. So if I don't know the word this, it's going to go to the closest, which is the method ID instead of the class ID.
I guess I think that's it. That's it.
Yeah. It goes to the closest version of that variable that it can get to. So again, we're just going to create the two setters. This is kind of a thing that's so normally I don't really care for setters and getters, but this is my understanding is that this is required by Spring and eventually by JPA. So they want set and get, but we're going to do getters right now. So public, get ID. We'll just do that. We'll make this easy on ourselves because we've done these a ton of times already. We'll just quick build them. Sound good? Okay, let's have that. Nice, simple object, right? Nothing too fancy, right? Feels like what, week 2 of Java, right? Except for private instead of public and final. Let's go ahead and now use this in our controller. In this case, now we're going to create a new get mapping. We'll do a slash say hello. This time we're going to, instead of returning a string, we're going to return the object. And that's what the system requires in order to send back JSON. So we're going to say that this is going to return a greeting. So this method is going to return a greeting. We're going to say hello. In this case, we're going to return new greeting. ID is going to be 4 or 3, I guess. I don't really care. I don't know. The meaning of everything, 42. Nope, not 42. And what's our greeting we're going to give back to the user?
Hello, career devs.
I like it. Hello, career devs. So far, so good. Nothing too fancy yet. Let's go ahead and restart the server. Just hit that green reset button. That'll reset it. Start it again. Go back over. If I hit enter again, I'm going to get the same response. Why? Just for sanity check. Why did I not get hello career devs?
Because
I have to go say hello.
Right. We got a new route, or in this case, what's called an endpoint. So when you heard the term endpoint, that's what these are. These are endpoints. So this is the endpoint, say hello. And then we call it an endpoint because it's the endpoint of the root of the website. So this is the website's domain, and then you have your endpoint. So we're gonna go to the say hello endpoint.
Oh. There it is.
There's a JSON.
Yep. And again, look how it's in perfect JSON format, right? For some of you who don't realize, I have a package manager called JSON View, by the way. So that's why it looks really formatted nicely for myself.
Oh, I was just about to ask that, but you beat me to it because I'm getting a bland.
JSON
just-
View. So
yeah.
that's the extension. I'm actually gonna recommend everybody get that. If I do view source, right? That's how I do it again. Nope, that's not right. I think that's the source of the freaking package. Never mind.
Right extensions.
I want to disable JSON View for a second. I don't want to do that actually. Never mind. I like the way it looks. So
Huh. Mine's only getting the ID on the page. It's not putting the content.
really, so you have the content and return new greeting with the content and the ID,
1 second.
and you have the getters for both, right?
Can return new greeting. Yeah.
Here, I'll put them side by side.
And then
Take a look at my screen. Make sure your greeting controller and your greeting class are the same. If you need another second pair of eyes, let us know. We'll have you share screen.
There
it
it
looks
is.
the same to me.
I have the JSON
Say
view.
that ours should not have the JSON formatting.
Oh,
What's
what?
that, Mike?
What
So
just
mine
happened?
doesn't have any formatting. It just shows up in plain text.
Yeah, most likely you don't have JSON viewer. But again, I'll take a look at yours as well. So
Yeah.
Matt, go ahead,
It's
go
a
first.
plugin for Chrome.
Sure. 1 second.
Oh,
Here we
before,
go.
well, you get ready actually before you get your share. Okay. Oh, that Matt first? Yeah, Matt first. Okay.
Yeah. So this is my greeting.
Good. This content, string on, that looks fine.
This
Greeting,
is
good,
my
great.
controller.
It's fine. Reboot the server again
And-
one more time, just make sure it's the
Oh,
most recent
what-
version.
I'm sorry, which one?
The green reset button
The green.
on the left. Just
Oh,
rerun the
here.
server. Yeah, just
Sure.
rerun the server. Just make sure it's up to date. Make sure we're good. And yeah.
Oh, you know, that
Yes.
could very well be it, actually.
Let's go
That,
ahead and
well, actually, no, because I got the 42. Yeah, I only get the 42.
go to raw data. That's odd. Let's go back to your code again.
Certainly.
Surprised you're getting because you're getting one bit of data. Back to your greeting.java, the greeting package, and private final long ID, private final string content. With greeting long ID, string content, this.id.
I think it's supposed to be get content.
Oh,
Get content. Yep.
Yep.
Nice
That'll do
catch,
it.
Keith. Yes.
Thank you. that'll
That's
do it, won't it?
Yep. Like I said, I only don't care for getters, but the Jackson JSON needs them.
All right, let me. Where's my stop button? Let me figure
Yep.
this out now.
The code in Jackson JSON uses the get field in order to get the data to pull it into the JSON format.
Okay.
So if there's no get,
That'll do it.
Pull it.
Good catch,
there you go.
Keith. Thank you.
Nicely done, Keith.
All right, now, yeah, do mine.
Go for it.
Let me see
I
if I
was
can
like-
return the favor.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if anyone's not working, please share. Let's see what we got. What's it
So I'm
doing?
just getting hello world still. So here's the
All right,
greeting.
so go to your URL
Oh,
or go to your browser. Go to the browser, yeah. So remember we mentioned about endpoints, right?
I didn't hear that part. I was like
Ah,
editing
so
other
go back to your
stuff.
controller for a second. Go back to the controller. And if you take a look, there's a difference between the get hello and say hello. What's the difference between the two? Other than the content. What's above it? That get mapping,
It's
right?
good. Yeah.
And so what the get mapping on say hello says is that we have a different endpoint. So get mapping slash is meant the root directory. With the get mapping slash say hello, that means the URL that we go to in the browser must be slash say hello.
Oh, I didn't put it in there. No.
Yep. So yeah, go back to
All
the
right.
browser and do say hello.
Just instead of the local
Slash
host
at the end. Yep. Slash 8080.
at
and
the
then
end
slash
of the.
say hello. Yep. Think you need the capital H, but we'll see.
I don't think you need it.
Try it. I'm curious actually. It does need it for Java. Yep.
It
Java does
does.
care. Yep. DNS don't care, but
Yeah.
the website does. Cool. Next thing I want everybody to do, by the way. So next thing I want everybody to do, I'm going to recommend the JSON view extension. So I'm going to share my screen quick and show you guys how to grab that. So
Already done, boy.
good for you. I'm going to make sure everybody knows how to do it though.
Yeah.
So from Chrome, and everybody should be using Chrome. If you're not, how dare you? But
Don't tell us.
That's the opposite of Gabe.
Yeah.
Firefox, I'm okay with, but I'm not.
Gabe's
I'm
all
telling
about
you-
Firefox.
I'm not teaching you guys
Oh,
Firefox
yeah.
though. I'm teaching you Chrome.
I
Gabriel
can't- I
literally
can't, man.
rage quit on me
I,
one
I
day.
tried to do React with it. It's not the same.
Gabriel literally rage quit on me one day for using Google Chrome. He was teaching me something and he was like, "You're using Chrome?" And then
Get
he
out of
just
my
ended-
class.
I could
Yeah.
understand that with Internet Explorer, okay, or Edge. I
Yeah,
would
the-
rage
Oh,
quit that.
shit.
I'd
Yeah.
probably kick you out of the class right now.
We
if
were
you did
working
that.
on APIs, and the Firefox developer tools are set up so much nicer than Chrome's. And he saw
They're
that
identical.
Sergio, oh, what is it? I forget. There was something about it that was different. And Gabe looked at Sergio and said, "Oh, you're using Chrome," and he just killed the Zoom meeting entirely.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. I will admit to you. I will admit if you're using Firefox, I will at least help you. But I'm recommending Chrome. Most developers nowadays use Chrome.
That was a fun
Firefox has
night.
some specific
What do
moments
we
that are
need?
better. That's it.
I would only get upset if you're using Edge or Safari. If you're using that, then I will be angry with you, and then yes, I will stop.
Edge.
But Firefox
Fuck
is
that,
why
man. Edge. Fuck that.
Firefox or Chrome, I'll be okay. But I'm recommend. I'm only
Wait,
showcasing.
what's the problem with Safari?
It's a generic editor. Is a generic locked down browser again.
Yeah, but Edge is Chrome because you can still use Chrome extensions in Edge.
Edge is not Chrome. Don't.
Yeah,
do
you
it.
guys
It may
aren't
be
using
based on.
Internet
It may be based on Chrome. It is not. Chrome.
Safari was
It is
Once you start to
still
learn
iPhone.
front end, man, you're gonna see that makes a very big
I use the
difference.
same
Yes.
extensions
Go
in-
with
in
Chrome.
Edge I do in Chrome.
It may be based on Chrome, and it may have the Chromium inside of it, but it is not Chrome.
Yeah.
It's
like great.
It still has a lot of Windows's junk in it. Which
I don't have that
again,
extensions puzzle piece. I'm trying to find that.
Yeah, what do we?
It
oh,
might
I
also
have
be under
that.
here or under here. It might be under here if you don't have any extensions. at all.
You
Under
can, I just
The three
googled.
dots.
Yeah,
JSON
you can
Oh,
just
view
wait.
search for
extension.
extensions.
okay.
Windows.
Do
Yeah,
you still
Windows
have
would be
to
as
make
well.
exceptions?
Oh, there it
Look for
is.
extensions, yeah.
Edge?
The plugin is
Got
just
it.
the extensions. And so when you click on that, go to manage extensions.
Yeah.
You'll get this window. From here, we're going to click on the menu icon and go down to Open Chrome Web Store. You can probably just go to the chrome.google.com from the beginning, but that's how I always get to it. I always forget that. Chrome.google.com. I got to remember that. But because I actually don't think that does it. No, that won't bring you to the store. Never mind.
If you just search
This is
for
the fastest way to get to the store.
extensions, then it'll take you right here.
What is it?
If you just search for Google extensions, it'll take you here.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's just the way I always go to it. But yeah, the main thing is you want to get to the Chrome Web Store. Get there. Make sure you're on extensions, and then just search the store for JSON view. One word. Want that very first one there. Got the mine has added, so you won't see this green bar, so don't see that. But the very first one offered by Gildas, validate view JSON documents. Add that to your browser. Once you have that, just refresh the page. You get this nice format where your numbers are color coded and the strings are color coded as well. And you can click on, and when you have bigger nested items, you'll be able to collapse and stuff. So you get an array of items, you'll be able to collapse and expand on items as well. So it just makes it much more easy to read.
Is it JSON viewer or formatter?
View, JSON
View.
view, one word.
View. Like,
Nothing
oh,
else.
man.
Nice to see. In case you get a large library of employees.
I will say you
in
want this
objects.
anyway, just because we're going to do a lot more JSON stuff. We're going to be almost every single one of our responses to from our web servers are going to be JSON response because we're making APIs 100%. That way, at any time you can, whatever front end system you learn can work with this. That way you can create a standard HTML website with jQuery that's using standard jQuery web calls to your server. You can create a React system that is using Axios to send out to request information from your server and updating your system. You can create a Vue.js website that is reaching out to your system with whatever package you want to use. So the main thing is by setting these up where you have a API based website, a RESTful API website, you can hot swap your front end with whatever front end system and package and tool you want. You could have a Ruby on Rails front end, which is Python, which is Ruby, not JavaScript or Java. It is Ruby. You could create a PHP-based website that, as long as it makes outgoing, or as long as it makes HTTP calls to the server and can send and receive JSON data, that's all it really cares about. The front end system doesn't need to know what your server is doing, what framework it is, as long as the server accepts JSON HTTP requests, HTTP requests with JSON body, for example, for posts, and can send back JSON data that the website can understand. That's all it cares about. It doesn't care what the language is. And that's why what we're trying to set up here is these very decoupled systems, so that today so later on, we're going to do the crash course in React. You can build a React page, but if you end up, or if you already know another way of creating a front end, or you end up needing to learn a different package for the company you're looking at, you could just swap it out and create a new one. At the same time, when you decide to make a mobile version of your website, again, that mobile version can utilize the same API endpoints in the same systems. It asks for the data, gets the data, and just displays it in a mobile way. That's why we care so much. That's why the RESTful API styling of websites is so popular now. It allows your front end to be hot swappable. Whatever you want your front end to be for the moment, it can be. There are some benefits, don't get me wrong, there are some benefits to creating a system that does MVC, where you have the view being created on the server side, because you can do server-side loading and server-side rendering. That can make things a little faster for the front end. But it does increase your bandwidth, because you're sending a fully realized website down to the user. And you're doing all the processing server side, so you're going to increase your bandwidth in your server processing. Where if you do a lot of front end, like especially with React, where your entire application is sent to the user one time, and the only thing they're asking from you is the data, we're going to save on processing power on our server. We're not processing the website. All that processing is happening on the user side. So if the website's slow, we can just blame their computer. It's like, hey, we sent it all to you. It's your fault. You need a better computer. All right, everybody got that downloaded? Let's take a look at the site again, make sure this looks formatted. If not, let's go ahead and do one more share screen. Anybody else?
I can't see it.
Can't see it? All right, go for it.
This is my local host.
The fact that you're not getting anything tells me that the server's not running. Go back to your IntelliJ.
I think it's because she's using a dot instead of a colon.
Oh, yep, nice catch there. I just saw that
There's
as she
the
clicked
dot.
away. Go back to the browser.
Okay,
Localhost colon 8080.
Thank you.
Nice.
Hold
catch there,
on.
Matt.
I'm not thanking you yet.
Oh.
Oh,
Not a secure connection. Are you trying to do HTTPS?
What?
Click on there again.
Yeah, I
Click on
think
the
she just
browser.
added it.
Click on the URL. No, the URL. Yeah, go to
Oh.
the S. We do not have a secure server running right now.
yay. thank-
Hey.
Nice. And then
Wait.
do the say
Let
hello.
me see. It's like,
Capital H, yep. Good.
The hello.
And not yet. So let's go to your item. Did you reboot the server after you added that item? After that, added that? So
I did
go back to
reboot.
IntelliJ, and yep, just click that green refresh button on the lower left. I'll point at it.
This guy down here.
Yeah, that guy. That's refresh. Yep, or rerun the application. And that way it'll load the new stuff we've done. All right, and enter. I don't think it's started yet. Give it a second. It's still booting, most likely.
Indeed.
Yes, it is.
I would take that middle line right there and drag it to the left a bit. We don't need it so far over to the right. So take this middle line and just drag it that way. We keep going, keep going, keep going. There we go. And now we're started. Yep. So it took you 17 seconds to start. So yeah, just even give it a little more time. Go ahead and refresh.
It still says.
All right, let's go back to the server. Let's go back to that and go to our controller.
Hello.
There's an error in a greeting at get ID.
What is that?
You look at the, it says at com to career devs intro greeting get ID. There's an error like.
Oh, there's an error.
below.
Oh yeah, so go to the grading class.
Yep, greeting
Yeah.
class.
We got it.
Also, it says say hello, not get say hello.
Where is you see that?
Which is fine.
Oh, your greeting controller also has only one L.
Oh, it does.
It also says
Yeah.
Jello.
It's probably fine, but it's
That's
just.
not, that's not an issue. That's
Say
not a problem.
Jello.
Don't do
Oh.
that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Say Jello.
Keep that as one L right now. Hold on.
Hello,
Elaine, get rid of that, yeah.
Corridas.
That's going to match your file. So for now, that's not causing the issue. Go to the greeting class, please.
Yeah, it's returning
Oh,
get
because
ID.
it says return get ID.
Yep. So you want to return ID. You have an infinite loop happening right now.
Oh,
Is that capital or
Infinite loop.
lowercase ID?
lowercase.
Just ID. Yep.
Lowercase one?
Yeah, we just
Yeah,
want to
no
return the field.
parentheses.
Yep.
No
And then no
parentheses.
parentheses. This is not a method. It's just a field.
That's
There we go.
bad recursion right there.
That is mess. That's why we see all those messages down there.
I wish I understood why that was.
That's why we see all this.
Yeah.
It's a giant stack of the same methods being called over and over and over again until she runs out of memory, and the system's like, "Hey, you've run this method way too many times without any changes." So, reboot it. Goes. Wait for a second until it says it started.
17 seconds.
Great work, everybody. Look at you guys finding the issues and not me. I'm loving this.
Infinite loop. I need to log your hard
There it
drive.
goes. Started. Let's go back to the browser and refresh.
Yay.
There it is. Jello. I do like how yours is Jello Corridas.
Yeah, I made a mistake and I thought it was better.
It's a fun mistake.
Yeah.
That's a happy accident.
Some of
You,
those happy mistakes.
you jelly, Cliff?
I prefer
Oh,
pudding
oh,
myself.
yeah. Anybody else?
Thank
More
you.
I'm more of a flan guy.
I agree with you. Totally in agreement.
All right, I want to do two more quick things and I'm going to give you as an assignment.
All
I'll
right.
do a 30-minute one because I just want to do the last two things we're going to care about. There's but one more thing actually, because there's two more things we're going to care about. Yeah, which these are again parameters. We want to be able to sit and have dynamic routes and dynamic data. The most common one with a get route, one of the most common way to send data through a get request. Does anyone know how to do that?
Sounds very familiar, but I don't remember.
They're called URL queries. So for example, let's do google.com.
Been in a while, so I can't remember.
Do this myself. So do this with me, by the way. Google.com, add a question mark. Sorry, slash question. Yeah, question. Yeah, question.
Question.
Q equals, and what do we want to look up?
Dog.
I was gonna say cat, but sure. Cat's more common on the internet, but yeah. Q equals dog. Enter.
Oh.
Look how it added it there, right?
Mhm.
And that's what I want to do. I knew I wanted to do that. I want to do search. That question equal dog. There we go. So we do google.com/search Q equals dog.
That's right. We did this months ago with APIs and
That's
JavaScript.
it. Shouldn't be too new. These are query parameters, and that's what the Q stands for here. Q stands for query, which is what we searched for. And so we can change this whatever we need. I can do cat. There we go. Well, I don't think that's gonna work. So we got that. And we can also, there's more, what is it? D equals dog. But anyway, what I'm gonna do now, actually, I'm gonna actually do it this way now. Let's do.
So basically, whatever you type on that bar, there is a variable that's gonna like add to
Yes,
the
so-
URL.
How the syntax is, the question mark starts the query parameters. Anything after the question mark is this query parameters. The first thing you get is the variable, and then you give it an equal sign, and then you give it something. An ampersand then separates for a new one. After the ampersand, you have a new variable, and then the result, ampersand, variable, result, fun. So after these, I don't care anymore. Yeah, source, HP, I actually don't know what that means, but yeah, you have a query, and we have source. Query was Einstein, the source was HP, probably homepage, I'm thinking now that I think about it. Yeah, the source was the homepage. So this query source was I searched for the homepage. I went to Google and I typed it in. Hello. If I do it in here, let's see what happens. Let's do Adele,
All
of
right.
course. Use
good.
Elon Musk. See if that gives me a new query. Or source. Where is it? Q Elon Musk
plus
and
Musk.
Elon Musk and APS. I don't have source anymore. Yeah, because this was just I don't get source now because it doesn't.
So
not
if
my
it's saying it's
website.
from Chrome, that could be from the
Yeah.
Chrome address bar, whatever
So I'm
AQS
guessing, yeah.
is.
AQS must be that, something like that. But very interesting to see those differences, right? These are all the data points that Google wants, and it gets it through these GET requests, through the GET request queries. So query parameters. So these are called query parameters. That's the main thing you want to know. And this is the most common and has been the most longest lasting way of getting dynamic data to a web page. You add it to the URL. Where'd my notes go? There they are. It's like, wait a minute, what did I do? So we can also do that in our
Since we're
page too.
doing, since we're looking at Elon Musk, did you see in OpenAI?
We're not going down a rabbit hole, but no one. We're trying to keep this quick, so I'm already going a little over because the helping you guys out with a couple issues. So I want to finish this up. So let's do another one. Let's do, and we're also going to add in some new dynamicism to this. So I also want to add in the concept of, so what I want to do is be able to say, you know what, I want to be able to accept a name. So a name from the user and be able to say hello to that name. So let's do that. Let's do that, get mapping. I also want to create some dynamicism with that ID number. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to do private static. Sorry, not static, sorry, final, sorry. So this is going to update. So every time that someone asks for a greeting that is named, I want to count it by increasing the ID. I want to increment the ID every time I get a request at this item that asks for a greeting with a name provided to me. So I want to dynamically, automatically update this item. Because there's a chance that me and someone else could try to hit this route at the same time. This is an idea of concurrency. And so we're not just going to use the standard long now. Java has something called concurrent atomic library. And so we're going to create a final atomic long called counter. This is going to bring in our concurrent atomic items. This is going to create our atomic long that is going to be concurrent safe. And go ahead, Matt.
I get it's yelling at me when atomic long, excuse me. Never mind.
Yep. Make sure you get it right. Yeah. Use the right the class.
There it is.
So,
Never mind.
It's built into Java, so you better have it.
Yeah, I was really confused because it was yelling at me over atomic. But
so, atomic long counter. And we're just gonna make this a new first. Now, just like other numbers in Java, I don't have to give this an initial value. It's going to initialize to 0.
Okay.
So that's already good. So it's already going to initialize to 0 right away. The difference here is that we don't use the equal sign anymore. We use methods. So that way it can check the current state of it and make sure that it's, and can queue up to make sure that it gets the right identifier, it gets the right number. And so for this one, we're going to use, so we're going to see how this is going to look in a second. So first thing, get mapping, I'm going to do /greeting this time. Public. Again, we're going to return a greeting. I'm going to do greeting. I'm going to add some parameters now to the method. So now I'm going to add some stuff to the method. And again, we're going to see more annotations now because I can't just, if I just say, hey, I want to get a string name. Again, that doesn't really tell Spring Boot, where is this variable coming from? Where is this coming from? Like, we know, I just said that the most common place to get it is from the query, but there's other ways to get data too. There's the body of the request, which isn't common in GETs, but you technically can do it. You can send a body with a GET request. It doesn't really happen, but it is possible. Most servers ignore the body of a GET request, but you can look at it. There's headers for requests. There are, we're going to look into something called URL parameters. Instead of query parameters, we're going to look into URL parameters. And it's the second item, the last I'm going to do today. So we need to be able to tell Spring Boot, where is this information coming from? And so we're going to use an annotation called request param. All right. This annotation has 2 items we need to give it. Minimum, of course. There's more. They have the default values, so they're optional technically because they have defaults, but we're going to give it a value. This is the item on the left side of the equal sign. So in Google's, this would have been the string Q. We don't want that. We want to use the string name. So we're going to see question mark name equals. That's what this is saying. We're going to have question mark name equals something. We have that, and then we can also add a default value in this case. And so I think that's a good thing to have. Just again, to showcase what that was. What is that? Alt P? What is that? How do we get that thing to show up again? Dang it, what's that trick?
You do
the-
default value, hit tab, it'll do default value equals.
No, I want to see what the possible items I could put in this annotation are again.
Oh, a little pop-up string.
Like that. Okay, there we go. Value name. I actually don't know what name does. I don't know what that does. I have to double check on that one. This one, and this one I know. I know value required and default value. I don't remember actually, I don't think I've ever used name before. So yeah, value name. Go ahead and do default value. I'll set that to, we'll just put world, so that way it'll always default to world if no one enters anything. World, not Wallard. That, and then we still need to give it a variable name though. So we have the annotation, but yet how do I access that data here? So I still need to give it a data type and of what this request parameter contains and what it will do. And I actually think it has to be a string. I have to check on that now that I think about it. I've never done anything other than a string. Sometimes what's actually really fun about doing class is that I realize sometimes that, like, you know what, maybe I could have more fun with this. Can I do more with this? And that's something that you want to start developing as you become a developer. When you use something, you'll use it the way you were taught. And then sometimes if you have this realization, like, could I do a different thing with it? Sometimes just test it, but I'm not gonna do it right now. We don't have time. String,
You gotta put a comma.
not there. This is the variable for this annotation.
Oh, you put
So-
it before.
Mhm.
Interesting.
The annotation comes before the variable. So what's happening is that Spring Boot is going to go ahead and say, okay, well, in this variable, where this data is going to come from, I'm going to get the query parameter name and take out the value there and put it here. But if I don't have a query of name, if they don't give me a name query, I'm going to put the word world inside of name.
Cool.
That's what this does. I don't need this. But what this is saying is that take the query parameter name and put the value into this string to make it available inside of here. So the last thing we'll do now is return new greeting. The ID I'm going to use counter, and this is where you're going to see a big difference between a normal long and using this system. These are how you want to access and modify the data. We're going to use increment and get, which is similar to the ++ variable name concept. We're going to increment the value and then use it. That's what that does.
Oh,
And this is going to atomically increment and then get the value to make sure that it does it safely so that we never get two of the same kind. Even if we were to somehow make sure that the two requests came in at the same time, we're going to get two different ID numbers. One of them will win out and get the number first. And then the other one will get the next number. Make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah. If you use the long, it's fine. Just be aware that it's going to behave weird. You could get odd behaviors of where you're not going to get the number you expected, or you might get two of the same number because it's going to be locked to that instance of the method run. So when you send the two requests in, if there's a long method, these two methods would start around the same time. And when the increment occurs, it increments, but when the method starts, the two methods are going to have the same value. And so they're going to most likely return the same value. But you're going to have odd behaviors if you're not using something like this, an atomic version of it. Make sense? Sound good? I know we're
Makes
getting
sense.
it's a good amount of stuff going on. Just know that as we're getting into this concurrency here, we want to start using new, more complex items. Otherwise, other than that, it's identical to a long. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use name. That's going to create our greeting.
Just for,
Do we have to do hello name or?
Oh yeah, we probably should do that. Good
if
point.
we've got the
Yeah.
world default there, that makes sense.
I'm going to do a concatenation stuff. So I could do hello That's the name, which is annoying.
What?
Which again, I want to teach. So let's do this first. But I also want to teach you guys a new format for doing this kind of stuff. It's gonna be a little interesting, and just to show you a new way of doing it. Because I found this a while ago and it's kind of cool. It's something called templating. But in a second. Yeah, because you guys have seen this before. I think you guys have seen this before, right? String dot format, right?
Yeah.
You've done that before, and you'll do like hello %s.
Oh, well, I've
it's small
seen
f,
it. I
sorry.
just don't know how to use it.
Small f. %s and then comma and then the s, which is name. I'm sure you guys have seen that, right?
I've seen printf, but I've never seen like that
Which
on a
is-
string.
Yeah, this is similar. This is just
Same thing, yeah.
returning a formatted string. So it's printf, but just format. So we get the same printf syntax, just in a string. We end up with a string instead of a display to the console. So same concept. And I'm using this for a reason I'll show you in a second. But first, let's just make sure this works. I want to use the same format and later on, but
Just a question.
go for it.
Just curiosity. How much memory does atomic long take versus like using just a long because the long.
Not that much. Again, really, it's a little more memory just to run the method instead of just doing the math. The method, of course, again, just makes sure that it lines things up and knows the current atomic state of the number, so that it doesn't create two of the same number or mismatch the requests. So that's the main purpose of it.
I'm just gonna turn all my iterators into atomic longs now.
There you go. There's also there's atomic int, atomic boolean. There are a bunch of atomics.
Yeah.
So see, long boolean, integer
Boolean.
arrays, long arrays.
Oh
We have
wow,
arrays and stuff. We have
that's pretty cool.
references. So yeah, there's a lot of them. A good decent number of atomic items that you can use that make it safe. So.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Later on, we won't worry about it because we're going to be using just databases and stuff like that. We're not going to have counters like this, but they're not as common. But if you are using them, you want to make sure they're atomic to make sure they're safe. I personally, though, would never want to use an incrementer for IDs because then you try not to get too deep into things, but there was a website, a bank, that for the login page, you could provide your ID, that the URL would actually have your ID number and it would pre-fill your email address into the ID field, into the email address field. A customer realized this and decided, wait, that just looks like a normal number. So they added one to the ID number and got someone else's email address. So they decided to just create a script of code that would just go to the URL from one until it stopped getting email addresses and would just yank the email address off the website and then just send emails to everyone to the company saying, hey, I was able to pull out these email addresses. I could very easily send a phishing email to these people. You might not want to do this. So you don't want to use incrementing IDs. Just leave it at that. You can just do a simple for loop to find everything.
Yeah.
At least not one that you don't want to use incrementing IDs for public facing systems. It's
Well,
fine to do it in the background and in the back so you can keep count of stuff, but you never want to use those for public facing information.
No, I was thinking like in games and things like that, just simple like things.
Yep. Oh no, that's
So what are they using? A randomizer? To do
Yeah,
it?
they use something now called UUIDs, which we'll touch base on later. We used to use something called a UUID, which takes the time and date and a randomization and some other systems create a unique number. Where again, the chance of getting the same number is astronomical. That there's not enough time in the existing universe to create all the instances of numbers that could be created. Well, me and Freddie did a mathematical formula that confirmed that every time you guys shuffle a deck of cards, it is a unseen permutation, most likely. So look into that later on. Not going to do it today. That's another rabbit hole. So just look into that sometime. Just look into how many different permutations of how many different layouts or how many different permutations of a deck of cards can exist. So, and there's not enough, the life of the universe, everyone on the planet shuffling cards could still not create every instance of the every layout. It's just that massive. So anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna so we got that. Let's see if this works. So we rebooted the server. Go back. I'm gonna switch this to greeting. Just like that first, just to see if we get the website. We see, hey, I got hello world. So now let's add my query. I'm gonna do question mark, name equals. Look at that, ID2, hello Cliff. Hi, Keith.
Oh, cool.
I had to pick some random name and I just looked over and saw you.
Not fair.
You can see ID 3, hello Keith. You can see that
Wheel of
the
Doom.
numbers updated. Wheel of Doom, there you go. The ID is updating and the name is being captured through the query. And one of the real cool benefits of this is that people can add another queries and it won't break anything. I can add NP equals 3 and that doesn't change anything. I'm sending data that the server just doesn't care about. And that's what's really cool about this stuff is that people can
that's
load a bunch
cool.
of data and it doesn't matter. So it's not going to kill anything. And since we have the default value, again, if I decide to not provide it, I still send back something. Very cool, right? One thing to keep in mind, of course, is that this atomic number is also not persistent. If I refresh the server, just reboot, the ID resets. So just be aware of that. This is not
If we
persistent
were to
yet.
if we were to implement local storage somehow, though, that could
Yes,
be
that would-
persistent.
Yep, 100%. Last one. So there's one other final way we can add some data to the system called URL parameters. And that's simply by, instead of doing this, I can do, I'm going to do hello /cliff like this and add the, and be able to pull the data from the URL and have dynamic URLs. Most commonly what you'll see here is ID numbers or like article ID numbers or article headers and stuff like that. You would probably see like the article -title, and that would pull the article. So we would have what's called a dynamic URL. Instead of a query parameter, we have a dynamic URL where we take this item after the slash and we put that in a variable. So let's look at that last final version. I'm going to do hello slash, and the way to do this one is we use curly brackets, and inside the curly bracket, we give it the variable name that we want.
Well, baby,
What's that?
sorry.
Oh, okay, I was like, is that me? Do you need something? Sorry, I'll make sure you're good. Where my notes go. Make sure I get all the items I need. Yeah, there we go. I'm gonna do this and then just type in name again. So like that. So this gives us a dynamic URL. So as long as this triggers true, we have /hello/something, that something's gonna get put inside of a variable called name, or that's what Spring Boot's gonna look for. We still need to actually catch it. So I'm gonna do again, public greeting, do hello. And again, we do need to let it know that what I'm about to give it is the catcher for this variable, which is again called a path variable. So at path variable. This one is just an annotation, just to say, hey, this next thing I'm giving you is going to be it. And as long as it matches, it's safe. So I'm going to do string name. It's going to see name, and it's going to recognize, oh, that's where this goes. So as long as this matches this, there's nothing else we need to do. Make sense?
So
Simple, nothing too crazy there. We just kind of use like, I don't know if you've seen this before, like in JavaScript, you used to use that for string interpolation, right? Or string injection, sorry. So you used to inject strings into JavaScript by using backticks and $ curly brackets,
Oh,
right?
yeah, template literals, yeah.
That's it. Yeah, thank you. Template literals. That, my brain. It's also, I've also heard it called like string injection, but yeah, template literals. So this is kind of the same concept there. We're identifying it through the curly bracket system. So we do that. We'll do again, return, greeting, and our counter, increment and get. And, you know, I don't want to do the string format again. So I'm going to make something a little nicer because I don't have to really retype this. If I change this, I don't want to have to change it into 2 locations. So I'm going to do something interesting. Private, final, static, string template. I'm just gonna call that. That's not a keyword, just be clear. It's not a keyword. I'm gonna do hello %s. And what I do here is I just create a string that has that formatting in there, that string format that we look for. This is literally just a string. There's nothing special here. This isn't looked at any differently in essence. String format just wants a string and any variables that need to be injected into the string. And it parses that string looking for these. It goes to the string looking for these items. It's not expecting some special string or anything like that. It's just a normal string that happens to have placeholders in it. So I can just create a string that has placeholders in it, and then I can just give it that string. So now down here, I can do the same thing. And that way, if I edit this one, both routes will now update. Nifty, right?
Nifty.
So one of the differences between hello and greeting, those two methods are because we're using the path variable instead of the request parameters. We can't have that default value that we did before, right?
Correct, because then it won't qualify the URL because we can't go here without giving it something after this slash. Hello slash is not this. There needs to be at least some letter here, some character in this section here that will be put inside a name. So there is no way to hit this route without giving it something.
Got it.
Because yeah, that if it was just the hello route, it would look like this. There wouldn't be anything else. So this would be the mapping there. In order for this mapping to trigger true, it has to have something after this slash, at least some character. And because there's one character, it's going to get injected here. There's no way to do a blank, if that makes sense. I can't get null. Sound good?
Mm-hmm.
That's why there's no default value, because you can't get there without giving it something. All right. Good question, actually. Really like that one. That was really cool. Yeah. This one, because we can go to greeting without giving it query parameters, because people can just not type it in because they can go directly to it. I can go place and have null in name. So I want to make sure I don't get null here. I don't want a null value in name. And that's why I need to have the ability to put default values, because I can't go here without giving it something. That's not it's not a risk that I have. So that's one of the benefits we get. So yeah, while on the negative, we can't have a default value. The benefit is there's no chance to not get a value. So, yeah, that's why it's not really a bad thing, but it's also like, eh. And that's why, again, there's these multiple tools for the scenario and case. Do we want to be able to let people go here without providing query? Most commonly, what you'll see here is that what the query will most likely do is like a filtering system. So if we go to greeting with no query, we'll list everything. If we go to a query and we add in, you know what, I want to go to greeting / English, I'll see a bunch of English greetings, how people greet people in English. I could do lang equals Spanish and get a whole bunch of Spanish greetings. I could do lang equals JP and get a bunch of Japanese greetings. See what I'm saying? But if I just go to greeting, I'll get greetings from a whole bunch of languages, from all the languages with no filtering out. That's a common use case for the query system, where here you're most likely trying to grab an individual specific item, not filtering. Or you could still do categories there. But the main thing is there's no generic route for it. Kind of. Again, this is all fluid. There's a bunch of scenarios and options you can run into. So let's see this in action though. Let's hit the reload, make sure it's good. Go to the browser. We'll go to, we have hello here. And just to confirm it doesn't work, if I go to hello and I don't give it anything, I get a 404. Hello doesn't actually exist. Hello / something is an endpoint that exists. We do not have a hello endpoint. Even if I do hello /, that's not an endpoint. As soon as I give it one character, now I've hit the endpoint. Cliff. Boom, I got an endpoint. Hello, Matt. Endpoint. Hello, Sergio.
Hey.
Endpoint.
Nice website.
Maybe a little biased, I think. So those are, and so those are your main ways of of having dynamic or getting data from your website to your server to get data back, unique data back through get systems. There is one more way to get data to websites, and that is using the body by sending JSON data, but that very rarely ever is done in a GET request. Usually, if you're going to send JSON data, you're going to send it through a POST request in the body. And this is mostly used for situations like sending passwords. You'd never want to put the username and password in a URL because it's going to be unencrypted. It's going to be visible to everybody there. Even though we just starred or masked the password as they typed it, we're going to put it in the GET request. That's not smart. So we usually send that kind of stuff in a post that it's a little more hidden, even though sniffers or people kind of sniffing the packets could still find it. It's more hidden than just sitting on the browser.
I'm sorry, sniffers.
Sniffers.
If you're in Starbucks and you're just using the internet and you're going to websites and logging in, that data is being sent across the internet. People can actually do what's called sniffing the packets. So they'll bring they'll catch that traffic that's going through the router, pull it down to their system, and read the data.
I used to do that.
Yeah, people mention VPNs and stuff like that when you're out in public or using encryption systems. So that way the data is encrypted, then it goes out as encrypted data, gets decrypted at the destination. So a sniffer can't see anything. Don't know why they're called sniffers, but that's what they're called. It's called packets. The literal termination though is called packet sniffer.
Packet sniffer. Yep.
Yep. So
Packet sniffer. Good to know. First time I hear it.
There's a great episode of Darknet Diaries all about an MMO
Oh, yeah.
hacker who used packet sniffers to just completely destroy online games.
Oh wow! And I
massively
actually
leveled it up and everything. So.
I actually listened to that one too. So
Rabbit hole.
anyway,
so these are your four main ways of getting data with GET requests. So sending data to the server and hitting endpoints and triggering routes. And so these are your four main routes for gets. And then we're going to get into, on Thursday, we're going to go into posting. So tonight into tomorrow, damn, it's already 8:30. Damn, I got to speed this up. I got to streamline my items a little more so we can have the practice item. So got to be more recognizing at the time. Yeah, we can start it tonight. And on Thursday for the homework, you guys can do some collaboration for anyone who gets stuck on it. For your homework, I want you guys to repractice it. So try, of course, to do this as much as you can without looking at it. What I want you to do is create the GET requests for an employee system. So you're going to create an entity for employee, and you're going to create these four types of maps. So you want to create just a generic, just a root directory that just says, welcome to employee system or something like that. You want to be able to just send back a junk employee. So that makes sense? Just a junk employee, not actually doing anything with it. You want to be able to, for all intents and purposes, get a employee by sending the name or some of the data through. And I want you guys to challenge yourself by doing more than one query parameter. So we do first name and last name as two separate query parameters. Make sense? And what I would do here is do a get mapping for an ID number, and then just send back a random employee with that ID number. So that ID number is dynamic. So ID number, let me go ahead and write those down. Let me create the assignment.
oh, Georgie Facilo, here we go again.
What?
It's from the department data that we still have nightmares about, I'd imagine. I can't be the only one who still wakes up in a cold sweat thinking about that project.
Then you guys are happy that I decided not to go along. I was like, that data looks fun for you guys to do. Maybe we could do that in Java. I was like, yeah,
Not again, please.
not needed.
No.
I looked at it like, nah, it's not needed. We're not going to be doing that much, really.
Thank you.
So I have more important stuff to deal with.
I would get tortured.
You want some extra
Be happy
credit,
that you're-
Jim? Have at it.
Be happy that your grandfather did on this. All right, create assignment. It's gonna be a new project, probably. Yeah, I want to do. So this I want to do the whole thing from the beginning. Go through that whole process, make sure all these steps make sense. So create a new Springboot project. Initializer. There we go. Like, I know how to spell this. Employees. Play system. Employee should have minimum ID.
So was it yesterday we were talking about TikTok?
I believe it was, yes.
Did you see the news report that came out in Providence for today?
I have not.
You know how you were like questioning whether it's a good thing or a bad thing? Well, here's
Oh,
a
God.
bad thing. Threat of school shooting in Providence reported, police say related to a TikTok challenge. And I was like,
Well,
There
from
you go.
someone who was in high school not all that long ago, that's the word order I want. They will get any school shooting threat through any medium possible as long as it gets them out that day. So I can't really blame TikTok for that. They were writing that on the bathroom walls in soap when I was in high school. So
I also don't blame TikTok for that. It's a TikTok challenge. Like we had the cinnamon challenge through YouTube and stuff like that. So challenges aren't
How
new.
would you define a challenge? Like you could literally say anything is a challenge.
Well, that's it. And
because it
that's-
is.
Yeah.
Like if
and
one
that's-
person does it, it's a challenge.
I say the TikTok challenges are getting really dumb. If there's a TikTok challenge challenging people to go do a school shooting, Jesus. what's wrong with you?
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like, I already thought the what was it? What was it called? It was something licks. What were they called again?
Oh,
Oh,
devilish
no.
licks.
Devilish
Funny
licks or
terms.
something like that. Was
Yeah.
it
It's always some
Diabolical licks.
diabolical licks? That was
But
it.
no, it was devilish.
Devilish. It was devilish.
Was,
Okay.
Yep.
I heard
Mhm.
delicious licks once, and I was like, I don't think that's right. So, but this was the idea of students stealing stuff from their school, and the items they
But
got
here's
were
the
the
thing.
licks.
It literally flipped on its head where it turned into angelic yields.
I heard of that where they were putting stuff back.
No, they didn't. They made it better. They made the bathroom a whole ass gentleman's club.
Oh, okay. So
Like
that's,
they
okay,
had a
that's
switch
different.
in there. They
So,
had
that
a
is, so
TV.
even the returning challenge got better because that was the first instance. Of it. So
Yes.
yeah, Devilish Licks first started like, hey, look, I stole the eraser from my classroom.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I stole a roll of paper towels from the classroom, or I stole a calculator, and it turned into, hey, look,
Yeah.
I stole a sink, I stole the toilet, I stole a door from the bathroom, I stole one of the signs, I stole a computer. It's like, Jesus Christ, people. Like they were people like they were destroying bathrooms. Like they were literally going to destroy them where they had to just close bathroom and students weren't allowed to go to the bathroom in the middle of school, or they had to have a person posted outside the door of the bathroom so that they could see what was going on. But then, yeah, they had the new thing coming out where they were called reverse licks, where they were putting stuff back, where someone go in and actually return the soap dispenser, install a new one, or install the sink back, or put something, or fix it. And
Like
that
foot
sounds
rack.
even better now. The angelic, whatever that is, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Angelic system, that's cool. Kind of like
It's like the whole Sour Patch Kids thing. Like sour than sweet.
But I do like how, yes, that the community of TikTok recognized this is toxic, so they created a non-toxic version to fight it. Because YouTube had same situations happening where they had toxic challenges going up and stuff like that. Was Tide Pod TikTok or was Tide Pod
I
YouTube?
think that
Was that
predated
Vine?
TikTok. I'm pretty
That
sure.
might have
Twitter?
been
It was
that might have been
Twitter. That was
Vine.
Twitter.
That
that
could
was-
have
That
been
was
Vine.
Twitter.
Twitter? Okay, Twitter. So
But
yeah,
here's the
it's-
thing: for the angelic yield and for the devilish licks, the school had the
Yeah, but
same
you shouldn't have
response to
enough
both
common
of them,
sense not to do that.
where
stuff.
they
True.
shut
Yeah,
down the
exactly.
bathroom.
Exactly. Dave
That's the
said
thing,
it.
but all generations have these people that do these stupid things. Most
Yeah.
generations have it. So
Let me
almost
tell you,
all
if my
generations
mom, if
have
my
these
mom
people.
found out I was ripping up the bathroom, she'd be whooping my ass. That's the problem.
Exactly.
We're gonna get the asses. But
I'm sure that some of them still had that happen.
So,
my mother
now you go to jail today.
My mom don't whip ass, and my foster brothers didn't do it. So my mom is no longer whipping ass. So
Cliff, in this
doesn't require
assignment,
it.
in this assignment for classroom, could you also list the dependencies that we need for
was gonna put in, yeah.
Spring?
Yeah.
Okay, because I do not remember those.
Really, the Spring Web's the only one we need, but I'm going to put them all in there just so you can continue to use this project for other homework. So JPA and H2.
Thank you.
H2, yeah. Yep. Spring data JPA. But yeah, if you put JPA, you'll find it. So yeah, those two.
Perfect.
So we always go through this startspring.io.
Yeah.
Want to bookmark this then?
Yep, I would do that. I figured I didn't have to tell you that one. So I'm going to say they should have a minimum of ID first name, last name. I will say these two are optional. That if you want to create two different ones, ID I would say is the most common thing you'll always have everywhere. But if you want to create two different fields, as long as there's two fields in addition to ID, you should have a minimum of 3 fields, ID and 2 others. I'm not gonna put that down. That's fine. You guys, I told you that. For those who aren't here, they don't get that benefit. 4 routes. Minimum root route. What is it? Not test, not junk. What's the freaking term for that again? My brain is not having fun today. Dummy day, dummy. Employee route. To create employee. Pretty much, yeah. The query is the first name and last name. You create the employee and send back the data, the employee object. And then
Cool.
a param route.
You spelled param wrong.
I did. Path param route using yield. Be creative. Take the time you need, create as many of the certain type of route that you need to make sure you understand that route type. Have fun with it. Hell, who had that? Was it Sergio? Who had the name generator in their project for the card games?
Sergio.
It was Sergio. Feel free to bring that back in again. Use a name generator on some of these if you want. Have fun with that. Go ahead.
I love
Challenge
those,
that.
man. I love those. It's just like it's just the randomness of it.
Oh man, that was
You know,
painful.
light dagger or long vision. We had fun with those. Yeah.
Have fun. That's the thing. I want you to have fun with these things. These are meant to practice. You're supposed to enjoy
Matt's
these.
looking
These are-
confused there. We're using, one of those things where it's like select the first letter of your name.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
associated to a word, and then the first letter of your last name. So it's one of those. It's just like choose your assassin name, your fantasy
There you go.
hero name.
So main thing again with these things, I definitely want you guys building this on your own. You want to try to do as much of this without having to look back at the code we'd already built together. But of course, it's there if you need it. If you can't make forward progression, use it. Do not just stand there and sit there for an hour. But you want to challenge yourself as much as you can to try to do as much of it as you can from your own head, using just logic and deductive reasoning and remembering terms of art. By forcing us to try to remember it, it's going to try to generate those pathways in your brain. If you're always relying on something on other code, you're always going to have to refer to that code. You're never going to build those pathways. So I challenge you to try to remember. It's going to help to build those. And yet, no, you're going to fail sometimes. You're not going to remember it. It's not going to come in. Then you go look. So don't feel like you can't look at it, but don't just instantly look at it and just be like, I'm just going to copy this. Make sense? And one only thing you need to create 4 routes. Create a couple others. Have fun with it. Creative. Experiment with it. Try things out. See what you can do. For me, this is one of the best ways to understand something more is to just play with it. Just to type things in and see what happens. Does it work? Does it break? Does it do something weird? Does it behave oddly? This helps me to understand something new way better by playing around with it. If I just do what I was shown, I only know what I was shown. So feel free to play with those things. It's kind of the goal of these. That's why I'm giving the assignments to be simple so that they're not frustrating, to encourage experimentation. Experiment with these things. So like I said, on Thursday, we'll get into posts. We might even squeeze in delete because delete is probably one of the most simple ones you can do. The question is probably, though, whether or not we'll be able to bring in a local database, kind of relational database thing to just kind of put in there. It's really just a list. So that JPA, that H2 thing we're bringing in is just a local list of information that is persistent, I believe. So it'll persist after reset, but it creates a database. It may not be persistent because it's a pre-population phase. I don't know. I have to double check on that. I have to double. I can't remember if it was persistent.
What, H2?
Yeah.
H2 is just an empty database. You're gonna populate it with something, but
Yeah,
yes.
you get to pre-populate. I don't think it's persistent though. I think it resets.
No, it
once
isn't.
it's
Once
over.
you close the application down, you lose all the data that's in
I say
it.
yeah, it's not persistent. Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, it's like I don't think it's persistent. I don't remember it being persistent. But
Well,
I was trying
since
to
you
remember
have
if there
the
was a
data-
setting to make it persistent or not, like with local
Well,
storage. So
Well, since you have the data on the database table, you can essentially just save it as a CSV file. Like you can make an.
Sí, acaba de
that's what I was
salir.
thinking. I think it can be persistent, but I don't believe we're going to be, I don't plan to do that because that's just unnecessary. Because the end goal, of course, is to switch to SQL. We want to use a SQL database through JPA. So we're going to use JPA to access a SQL server.
Oh,
My
baby.
plan is
Okay.
hopefully over the next couple days and the weekend is to see if I can get a SQL server running via a OpenShift or OpenShift container, so that we can
They
have
have
a SQL server.
Spring Boot has the 2 SQL Server drivers.
Yeah. So again, the main thing that we just need a SQL server running somewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, JPA and Java has a SQL can work with a SQL server. Just we need a SQL server first. So,
Right.
and I need you guys to teach you some of the basics of SQL syntax.
Yeah, I'm getting closer to that SQL
So
injection.
more learning. So not just SQL and Spring Boot. We're going to learn some SQL. Not just JavaScript, Java and Spring Boot. We're also going to start getting a crash course into SQL syntax. So SQL scripting. Yay. Insert, select, delete, merge, join. Well, not merge, join.
Yeah. Learning MySQL was interesting when doing it, but then when I was trying to learn rehashing again, I went down to SQLite. I was like, SQLite's pretty nice. It just has the basic of what you need to make the SQL to work. So it's not like overcomplicated. It's simple, but enough to make it go. And you can always use it in MySQL or any other SQL
Yep. The
language.
syntax for SQL, MySQL, and SQLite is all pretty, it's almost identical.
Yeah.
Almost. There's some slight differences, but whatever the differences are, you can easily Google. Anyway, already going too deep into it. I want to let you guys break out into rooms. I'm gonna leave the meeting at 9. I'll make Matt the host. You guys can start coding now. You
What
want to
is-
start solo, but if you get stuck, you can ask someone for assistance.
What
Sound
is
good?
get dummy employee route?
So just like we did here, we just returned a generic greeting object with just dummy data.
Oh, okay.
So this is dummy data. It's
Okay.
not dynamic, in other words.
All right.
You
Okay.
can also call it magic employee. It's a magic employee, but it's
Okay.
dummy data. We just put dummy data into it.
All right. Yeah, you're not actually you're not retrieving data. You just
Yeah.
yes, I understand. Okay.
So just you go to /employee, you get an employee that looks dynamic, but it's not. You can get the same thing every single time you go to it. That's all.
Okay.
Yep. Sound good?
Mhm.
Cool. All right.
Cliff, I
I'll see
have a
everybody.
question about Thursday.
Someone has a question. What's up?
It's about Thursday. Is that Thursday that we're gonna do the test for see if
I
you
gotta talk with
can?
Arnell tomorrow on that. So speaking with Arnell about that tomorrow. So yes, I do believe we might have that as well. So that might be the first 60 minutes will be that probably, or whatever time we
Okay.
need. So we'll see if we're gonna get to the post. I do want to. The goal for me, of course, is that I'm hoping to only need an hour to do the walkthrough. So we'll do like 1 hour for the 1 hour for the walkthrough. So tomorrow on Thursday, we'll play by ear what we're actually doing, but the goal is to do post. But again, we'll adjust based on what we need to do for the hackathon. Sound good?
Okay. Mhm.
Yeah.
Good question. Yeah, no, definitely play by ear. I'm letting you guys know what my plan is, but yeah, if it needs to adjust because of the hackathon thing, it'll adjust. Cool. All right, I'll see everybody then. See you all on Thursday.
See ya.
All right.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.